Hello everyone! Today we are going to be creating scratchboard art. You may be familiar with scratch art. It usually comes as a black piece of paper where you use a tool to scratch the paper, and underneath is a rainbow. Well, today we are going to be making our own. Here we have a piece of tag board, and our first goal will be to make the design that will be underneath the black. In your last project you used warm colors. Well, this project we're going to be using cool colors. So I have blue, green, and purple, my cool colors. And in your last project you used chalk pastels that were very powdery, kind of like the chalk you would use on a sidewalk. Now we're going to be using oil pastels. Instead of chalky, these are more waxy and oily. So I'm going to use these cool colors to cover my whole piece of paper. And I'm going to do it, you can do it in any design you want. You can do polka dots, zigzags, whatever you feel you want to do. I'm just going to do like a camouflage type of pattern. And it's very, very important that when you're coloring with these oil pastels, you press down hard enough to cover all of the white paper. The next step will not work if we have white paper showing. So make sure to press down hard enough. Make sure you're getting the oil pastel completely on the paper. This is what it should look like once you've covered a whole spot completely. If your spots look like this, where you can see the white through it, you're going to have to go over that a little harder. With purple, I'm going to use some blue. And some green. And you're going to repeat this until you have the whole piece of paper covered. Okay, I have covered my scratch board with cool colors and oil pastel completely. I don't have any white spaces showing. Once you get to this step, you're going to make sure to take it to an adult, a teacher, to get approved for the next step, because we want to make sure that you don't have any white spaces showing. The next step will not work if you do. So I am good, so I'm going to move on to the next step. At your tables, you should have two colors, a black and a blue. These look like they're paint, but they're not just paint. It's a mixture of acrylic paint and dish soap. So for the black, we used black acrylic paint and some dish soap. The dish soap is what will make it scratch off the paper like a scratch board would typically do. So these are mixtures of acrylic paint and dish soap. You can choose one color to do it in, either black or blue, and you're going to take a flat paintbrush. Here I have my flat paintbrush, and you're going to cover your design completely. I'm going to use black, so I'm going to put the blue away. You're going to use your flat paintbrush to completely cover your design. I like to go from one side of the paper to the other. Make sure I am getting the paint on there evenly. I'm not leaving any big clumps. Making sure to go back and smooth out any spots that need it. Okay, so I have my piece completely covered. Just giving it one final swipe of paint to make sure all my color is covered. Looks pretty good. Okay, once you covered all of your design, we're going to put this on the drying rack, and we're going to need to wait until it's completely dry to be able to do the next step. Alright, so my scratch board is completely dry. Now, if I were to go into this and just start scratching anyway, I won't be able to fix it. So it's very important that we practice what we're going to be putting on this scratch board before we start doing it on here, because we don't want to ruin it. There's no way to fix it, so we need to practice. So I'm going to set this aside so I can start practicing before I do anything with that. What we're going to be scratching into our scratch board is snowflakes. So right here, I already practiced. You're going to do the exact same thing that I did here, and you're going to fill a whole piece of paper with different types of snowflakes. At your table, each table has a sheet that shows you how to draw a few different types of snowflakes. You can practice those ones, or you can make up your own. A few of these are some that I made up on my own. So just to show you what we're going to do, I'm going to get another piece of paper. And I have my marker here. And I'm going to practice my snowflakes. One that we did, one that's on your sheet, not the one that we did, but one that's on the sheet at your table, is you start off with a plus sign. And then you're going to put 2 round little kind of like flower petals in each corner. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So it kind of looks like a flower in the middle. And then we're going to make some little lines that come out of each pointed end. And maybe I'm going to do some below here to make it a little more detailed. Now I'm going to draw a line out of each of these flower petals, and I'm going to add a circle onto each of those. So you're going to practice snowflakes, you're going to create your own snowflakes, but you're going to want to make sure that you fill a whole sheet of paper before we start on our scratch board. Once you have your whole sheet of paper finished, bring it up to a teacher and we'll tell you if you're good or if you need to draw a few more. And then you can start on your scratch board. So I'm going to push this up a little bit. I'm going to use these that I practiced to help me draw on my scratch board. So I'm going to grab my scratch board. We have these tools here. These are going to help you scratch into your scratch board. They're little wooden tools. It also, if you want like a thicker line, you could also use maybe the metal part of a pencil to help you get a thicker line. But for this, I'm going to use this little wooden dowel. And now I'm going to fill my whole piece of scratch board with snowflakes, different size snowflakes, big snowflakes, large snowflakes. I'm going to fill the whole thing. So I'm going to start. The medium-sized one. And then maybe a little teeny tiny one, a large one, and I'm using my practice sheet to help me draw these, because if I mess up, there's no going back. So I'm taking my time, making sure I draw these exactly how I want them to be. Now we are not scratching off all the black. We are only scratching off where our snowflakes are going to be. I'm still doing all different sizes, different shapes, being creative with them. Now I'm going to continue to finish the second half of this scratch board off camera, and then we're going to come back to it. Alright, now that I have my scratch board completely covered in snowflakes, there's no large areas where I have gaps, I'm going to start on to the next step. The snowflakes is going to be our background, but now we need something in our foreground. And what we're going to put is a cityscape. We've talked a little bit about what cityscapes are and how to make buildings for our cityscapes. So I'm going to do exactly what we talked about, and I'm going to make some buildings out of construction paper for my foreground. I'm going to start with orange. You can use whatever color construction paper you like. And you also have a choice. You can have your picture go upright like this, where the top is here, the bottom's here, and your city is going to be going along the bottom. Or you can turn it like a diamond, which is what I'm going to do. And this is going to be your top, this is going to be your bottom, and your city is going to go across here. So that's how I'm going to do mine. I'm going to start with cutting my buildings for my city to make sure that they fit nicely on my scratch board. If it helps you to draw these on the paper before you cut, you feel free to do so. I'm going to do that with one because I'm going to draw one that's a little more interesting. So I'm going to have rectangle, a little more complicated of a shape, and then I'm going to cut that out. So I have 2 orange buildings. Now I'm going to pick a different color. Okay, I'm going to go with green. Make some green buildings. And then I think I want some roofs for maybe my green building and my orange building. So I'm going to have a yellow roof for my green building and a red roof for my orange building. Now, instead of leaving this roof as a triangle, I'm going to snip off the tip of it so it is a trapezoid. I'm going to put that on top of the orange building. Now that I have a few buildings cut out, I'm going to see how they fit on my scratch board. So I'm going to put maybe this one here. Maybe a long one in front. Where should I put this one? I'll wait for this one. I'll put this one. You know what? Since my buildings are cut out and they're not quite working the way I want, I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to turn this horizontally. This is going to be my top, this is going to be my bottom, my city is going to go this way. I think my buildings will fit a little bit better the way I made them. So we're going to have green building with a yellow roof here. And then I'm going to have this interesting building overlap. Have it go underneath the green building. And you just kind of want to pile these together, make sure you have them the right way you want them. I'm going to finish doing this and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so I've decided how I want my buildings to look, and I added an extra building to fill up the space at the bottom, and now I'm going to glue these down to my scratch board. It's okay if you cover some of your snowflakes. It's not a problem at all. Okay, I have one down. I'm just gonna go right in a row and glue them all down. Now make sure not to use a lot of glue. We don't want to have globs of glue coming out the edges. So be very careful with how much glue you're using. I like to do just enough to go around the edge. 2 more to glue on. Okay, one more, and this one's going to go on top of some of my other ones. By putting this building right here, it makes it look like this green building is in front of all the other buildings. Okay, so I have all my buildings glued on, but they need some detail now. I'm thinking maybe some windows, some doors, maybe some shingles on the roof to give it some texture. So you can either use whatever's at your table, crayons or markers, to draw some details onto your buildings. I have markers, so that's what I'm going to use. I'm going to use an orange marker for my yellow triangular building. I'm going to draw some interesting windows on here. Just like what was shown in the PowerPoint. Step by step, you just draw your details. And then I'm gonna make a little door right here on the side that's open. Now I'm gonna use purple to draw some shingles on this roof. I think my shingles are going to be scalloped. So if you have scalloped shingles, you're gonna do some round little loops over and over again like a pattern. And then I'm going to use the same color to add some windows to my orange building. These are going to be round windows. And then on this one, you're not going to be able to see the door because the door is behind this green building, so you won't be able to see it if you're looking at it from this way. And then finally, I'm going to use maybe red to draw some more windows onto this building. And then a doorway. Put some window panes in my windows. Okay. And then this green one's gonna get some windows too, but these windows are gonna be longer. Since it's a long building. Okay. I have one more to do. I think for my tall building right here, I'm going to make it a clock tower because clock towers are pretty tall. So I'm going to draw a circle here for my clock. I'm going to give it a border. And then with a different color, maybe black, I'm going to go in and draw the numbers of a clock. 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11 o'clock. And now I need my hands for the middle of my clock. I'm going to make it dinner time, so 5 o'clock. The big hand's gonna go on the 12. And the little hand's gonna go towards the 5. for 5 o'clock. And then I'm gonna add a little door to the bottom here because I need to have a way for people to get up into my clock tower to fix my clock in case it breaks. It's a little triangle up here. And you can add more details if you'd like, but I'm gonna stop here. When you are finished, come show a teacher and we'll tell you what we think, see if you need more details or not. And if you are an early finisher, we'll have another step for you to keep on working on this.